I'm sure we all know about the television show Doctor Who, right? Our favourite British science fiction television series? The one about the time-travelling alien who transforms into a new person every time he is dying or is mortally wounded? Well, there is some dark truth behind it. There was once a 13-year-old boy named Jonathan Smith who attended an all-boys school in London during the 1940s. Due to his learning disability, he was often scolded by the teachers and bullied by his classmates. He was a troubled young boy, always daydreaming and looking out the window in a sullen or anxious manner. When he was walking home from school one day, he was mugged by some of his classmates from school. They beat him up badly, and he was left unconscious in the street. When he awoke a few hours later, he noticed several artifacts of his were stolen. This included his backpack and his shoes. He noticed that while he was out, he gained cuts and scrapes on his arms and legs, as well as a black eye and a gruesome bloody nose. When he got back home, his mother scolded him for getting into a fight, and she refused to listen when he attempted to explain that he was mugged. His father had been killed while fighting in World War II, so he had only one parent. That night, Jonathan changed from a depressed, tormented boy into a cold-blooded killer. The next day, one of the boys who had mugged him was found dead in his room, his throat slit. Jonathan was tried for being bullied and beaten by all around him, so he decided that it would happen no more. He would kill all who had tormented him. He decided not to go to school that day and go to the park instead, by himself. Surprisingly, the boys from school showed up at the park, and hearing about their friend's murder, they assumed it was him who had been the killer. They tried to kill Jonathan, strangling and choking him, but he fought back, and the two boys were found dead hours later, suffering the same fate as the previous boy who had been murdered. When Jonathan faked being sick to avoid going to school the next day, his teacher, Mr. Hartnell, was suspicious of him and decided to go to his house to talk to his mother. When Mr. Hartnell decided to call the police on him, Jonathan both shot and killed Mr. Hartnell and his own mother. He then locked their bodies in a trunk down in the cellar of the house. He decided to run away from his deserted home and live on the streets where no one would find him. He made his own secret hideout in a caravan underneath the streets of London that he had discovered while hiding in the sewers from policemen. He began to enjoy killing, so he killed anyone he saw when on the streets of London at night. He killed innocents, helpless innocents, because his tormented psyche had told him so. Eventually, police discovered where Jonathan was hiding, and he was arrested and taken to an insane asylum. In the asylum, he often fell asleep and imagined himself to be on another planet. He called this imaginary planet Gallifrey, and he believed that the inhabitants of Gallifrey could change their appearance whenever they were mortally wounded. This was based on how sometimes he would disguise himself whenever police came looking for him. In his imagination, he took the form of Mr. Hartnell and believed that he had taken Hartnell's soul when he had killed him. He believed all his victims' souls were in his own body, and that whenever he died in his imaginary world, that he would take the form of one of his victims. 14 years later, in 1962, a television producer named Sidney Newman visited the asylum where Jonathan was imprisoned to help the children there. Newman was the creator of Doctor Who, and he would create the show 1 year later. He had heard that Jonathan had a good imagination, so he asked him if he could help with coming up with the show. Newman thought of the concept of time travel in the show, and also the concepts of the TARDIS as a time machine. It was Jonathan who had invented the concept of Gallifrey and the Time Lords. The first actor who played the Doctor in 1963 was William Hartnell, who bore a resemblance to Mr. Hartnell. Jonathan wanted the Doctor to be just like his imagination, to look like his victims. He was based on Jonathan's personality before he became a killer. The concept of regeneration, when a Time Lord changed their appearance, would not be introduced until 1966. By that time, he was still helping Newman come up with ideas for the show. Every actor that played the Doctor was supposed to look like one of Jonathan's victims, and Newman had incorporated these ideas in the show without ever knowing what Jonathan had been thinking. The Daleks were based on the boys that bullied Jonathan and the concept of their toilet plunger-like guns. The Daleks were based on the boys that bullied Jonathan. and their toilet plunger-like guns were based on the time when Jonathan was at school and his bullies chased him with a toilet plunger to make other children laugh. Also, the Doctor's alias, John Smith, is a reference to Jonathan Smith. Jonathan committed suicide in 1974, but Newman kept using all of his ideas. He kept Jonathan's sketches in a folder and used them for Doctor Who episodes. In the present day, Newman is deceased, but his folders with Jonathan's sketches are still used. Each and every incarnation of the Doctor is based on one of Jonathan's victims.